In an abandoned house covered in cobwebs and broken glass lay a woman in a long-sleeved camouflage suit. The room was hushed, not a stir of wind outside as rays of sunlight faded in onto the lady's pale skin. The silence was broken by the sound of bullets ricocheting off a street sign. Just then she sat up, clutched her chest, breathing heavily.
"What the hell was that?"
she said, as her vision returned from a watery blur. After a moment, she took in her surroundings with shaky legs, trying to hold herself up by clutching her hands onto the dusty sofa. Seeing piles of rubble and bullet shells made her tense. Her gaze was drawn towards a trail of broken and blood-stained mannequin parts along the floor. She felt around for her medical kit and gun, still sat in her belt's pouches and holster. The disheveled building seemed to have no signs of life as the woman fumbled to check herself for any signs of major injury. Her ribs were sore and a few minor scratches, but nothing warranted any worries for major medical care. This meant she was able to proceed and search for the others. Fear took hold of her as she remembered that they were in a helicopter, a proper search and rescue unit. There was at least 5 others with her. The woman rushed over to one of the broken windows to get a better understanding of her situation. Just outside was more abandoned houses in a cul-de-sac. Rusty toppled-over cars and more broken mannequins. She gulped, trying to regain her composure and breathing. As she stepped back, her head tilted down to the cracked tiles of the living room floor.
Why am I here? How did I get inside? And more importantly, if there was a crash, where are the others and the helicopter?
Her questions were left unanswered as the house remained silent. She forced herself to walk towards the front door to find more answers outside before jumping to any further conclusions. With some hesitation, her hand reached the door and it gave way with an old creak. The setting sun reflected off of the windshield of an old blue pickup truck left in the driveway. Once her eyes adjusted to the outside, she took a few steps into the driveway and saw a set of dirty boot tracks leading to the house across the street.
If the others made it out alive, heavens above, I hope these tracks are fresh,
she said, before trying to cross the street and looking around for any signs of trouble. After a few steps, she noticed that there was something off. Another gunshot ricocheted and fired as a mannequin's arm skidded across the street, landing by her feet. With no signs from anyone else, just this, she was racing, protocols running through her head as she ducked behind the car. She took a deep breath before sighing, knowing that if she was not calm, this could be terrible. If she was dead before she could find any survivors, she'd be of no help. Taking cautious steps towards the house across the street where the bullet had come from, she tried to stay hidden, hoping that perhaps it was just a disoriented comrade. Her eyes were fixated as she saw movement inside, a man in a tattered military suit holding a gun and making his way towards the kitchen out of view. The man wasn't someone she recognized from her unit, and wasn't sure if he was part of the group she was sent for medical rescue. If he was disoriented, she could startle him. She had to approach this very carefully. She had to choose to confront this person. She didn't know if he was the culprit or the victim, but for the sakes of any of the other survivors, she had to do this. She needed more answers. She opened the door slowly. She noticed more bloodstains, broken glass, tattered furniture, and dozens of those mannequins with bullet holes in them. Upon reaching the hallway to the kitchen, her gun was held in her hand, tucked out of sight. She tiptoed into the kitchen, tension in her shoulders building as she looked around in every crevice. But it started to melt away when she realized it was empty. Perhaps he left through the back door. The moment she went to turn around, the wind was knocked out of her with a grunt of pain from the blow to the back of her head, causing her to lose grip of her gun as it slid across the kitchen tiles. She was tackled to the floor, laying on her stomach in seconds, with a knee pressed into her back and the barrel of a gun to the back of her head. From behind her, she heard a low male's voice say,
"State your name and business here, or I will not hesitate to shoot you like the rest of them.
She was in shock, trying to catch her breath and think rationally about her next actions.
My name is Harper. I'm a medic. I lost contact with my team. That's all the information I currently know.
Time seemed to stop, adrenaline coursing through her as the man leaned down, moving his knee and gun away from her, then gripping her jaw in his free hand to examine her closely. The man got up off of her and stood tall before speaking again.
You don't look or act like one of them. For now, you're free to move about, but any sudden change in behavior may change that outcome for you.
Harper slowly stood up, clutching a chair for support as she cleared her throat.
I do not recall how I got here, and the helicopter my team was on seems to be nowhere in sight. Is there anyone else here with you that might need medical assistance?
He looked around the room, holding his gun tightly, before turning his attention to Harper.
I've been here for so long. I've lost track of time, but we aren't alone. The enemy combatants are lurking outside. As far as I'm concerned, until you prove your loyalty, I'm watching you like a hawk.
The man walked into the living room, sat on the sofa checking his gear over, loading his gun with more ammo. He maneuvered over to the window looking outside. Harper cautiously followed him into the living room as she debated whether it was safer to trust him or try and search elsewhere.
All right. Can you at least tell me your name? Perhaps fill me in on exactly what you mean by I don't look or act like them. Is there any chance of finding the rest of my team?
The man sighed as he looked over at her with a stone-cold expression.
You may address me as Sergeant Andrew. It's not safe to travel far. I've seen them in groups outside, motionless and fast on their feet. You haven't even seen what they're capable of.
Harper clenched her fists, looking outside the window as the sun was almost fully set.
And there's no time to waste. We need to search for them in the nearby houses while we have the opportunity.
Andrew shook his head and spoke firmly.
Somehow you managed to evade them. If your team somehow survived, there's no way to know where they could have ended up. It's too risky. I cannot allow you to go look for them at night. Even with my help, we would be outnumbered and killed before we could even reach them.
Harper paced around the room, feeling unnerved, standing near Andrew. Something was not right about this situation. Andrew stood up and walked over to her.
Perhaps you're tired or hungry and need time to process. Look, there are some rations of canned bread, meat spread, cereal bars, orange juice powder, and a dozen of bottles of water. I am not going to let some newbie come in here and risk getting us both killed.
Harper was relieved to know that there were rations, but just how much of Andrew's word could she trust? After they both had something to eat and drink, Andrew walked towards the stairs and looked back to Harper.
There's a bed upstairs. I'll keep the first watch. If you need anything, tell me first so I know your location and don't mistake you for one of them. Is that clear, Harper?
She nodded.
Yes, sir. Sergeant Andrew.
She said softly before climbing the stairs and walking into the dusty bedroom. Looking around the nearly empty room, she saw an old queen-sized bed with wrinkled sheets. Next to the window was an empty wooden dresser. Harper sat down on the bed. She placed her hands on her head, groaned in frustration, as she recalled how suspicious the bloodstains and broken mannequins were, along with the missing team members. She patted her belt and checked for her medical gear, and then felt her heart sink when she realized her gun holster was empty.
Shit! I forgot to pick it up when Andrew tackled me.
She began to wonder if Andrew would even let her retrieve it. But if he wanted her dead, it would have already happened. She had to trust him for the time being and make a plan of action in case things went wrong. Harper tried to gain her composure once again as she made her way down the first steps.
Andrew, are you still down there? I left something very vital in the kitchen that I need to retrieve.
Seconds after she spoke, Andrew was at the bottom of the stairs. He spoke to her, but not taking his eyes off of the front door.
area is clear. Make it quick and stay away from the windows.
She hurried down the stairs past him, but the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end until she found her gun on the floor and let out a sigh of relief.
For a military-trained nurse, you really shouldn't be so careless. If I wasn't around to look after you, the enemy could ambush you, and you would be unable to help anyone.
Harper withheld a gasp as she clutched her gun, standing up, turning around to see Andrew mere inches from her.
Rest assured, I have plenty of experience in my field of work, and I don't take kindly to assumptions that every nurse is trained for this specific situation, especially when my entire team has gone missing and none of my protocols fit for this situation.
Andrew gave a reluctant huff and took a step back, keeping watch from the living room.
Exactly what are you looking for outside? Perhaps you could fill me in more on all of the broken parts and blood everywhere? Was your team killed by these enemy combatants you keep referring to?
Harper asked as she walked to the living room once again. Andrew raised an eyebrow as if he didn't understand this question, but then suddenly a thump outside the front door made him stand to attention, gun drawn and pointed outside of the window.
No time! They're outside. Stay down and cover me.
Harper's attention turned to the window, looking outside to see what Andrew was aiming at, but just as he took a shot, the only thing that she could see outside was a mannequin standing next to a rusted car.
Damn it! I missed the shot!
He said, reloading his weapon and glancing up towards Harper with a hasty shout.
What's the matter with you? Why are you just standing there? Take aim and shoot them!
Harper was too stunned by the situation. She felt her blood begin to boil as she took a step forward, clenching her fists.
Take aim at what? There's nobody else here but us. I think you need to sit down, and I need to give you urgent medical attention. I've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt for both of our safeties, Andrew, but I think you need to stop and...
Her shouts were interrupted as Andrew lunged forward, pushing her to the floor, out of the window's line of sight. Before either of them could speak, one of the car's alarms went off outside with a high-pitched blare that whirred to a dead silence. Harper's anger melted immediately into worry as she nearly threw up. Andrew's calm demeanor had turned into fear. His breathing quickened, and his hand clutched his weapon. He stood in front of her. As they exchanged looks for a brief moment, taking a look outside the window to see where the mannequin once stood was now empty, and footprints lined the driveway.
If I wasn't around to look after you, the enemy could have... God damn it. If I wasn't a... God damn it. Is that clear, Harper?
Just then, she sat up and clutched her chest in heavy breathing.
If you need anything, tell me first so I know your location. And don't mistake... Yeah. God damn it.
She hurried past him. The back of her neck stood... Oh wait. The back of her hairs. No. I'd like to give a huge thank you to my wonderful patrons, including Frankie Jr. 13.
Hold it right there, don't click off this video just yet. Why not check out some playlists of my videos while you wait for the next upload, and if you'd like to support my works and see more, click that link card down below. Patreon exclusive rewards for the Fennec Fox tier includes access to secret artwork, Arctic Foxes get shoutouts at the end of my videos, and early access to art and videos. Red Foxes have the opportunity to be featured when I need background characters or a commission instead. Subscribe for free if you have not already to join the Subscribblers squad, and tag me in some of that artwork, and I'll share it in the Subscribblers gallery. Stay possum, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.